So now that I've officially beaten Super Mario Bros. Wonder a day after it released, I have a lot of good things to say about this game. Realistically, this is the best 2D Mario platformer we've gotten since Super Mario World. This game is absolutely beautiful. Super Mario Bros. Wonder took everything 2D Mario games stood for, removed some of the annoying features, and added some spectacular ones. It's not a perfect game, but it's as close to perfection as platformers can get, and in this video, I'll be going over everything I love about Super Mario Bros. Wonder. We're gonna go ahead and get started, but before this video starts, naturally, this video will contain some spoilers. Make sure to check the timestamps below if you're cautious, or just check this video out at a later time. Anyway, shout out to my channel members, and let's get started. Let's start this video off by talking about this game's visuals, specifically the gorgeous art style this game has. It's not just that this game looks great, but I think the reason it hits so hard is because of the fact that a 2D Mario game finally has its own personality. It's no secret that the new Super Mario Bros. Franchise is known for its generically safe art style. It's not that these games look bad, they look good. It's just that we got 4 of these games that look and play almost the exact same within a few years of one another, sometimes within a few months of each other. Anyway, I like the new Super Mario Bros. Games, but it's great to see 2D Mario games original again. I mean, just look at how beautiful this game looks. It's probably one of the better looking games on the Nintendo Switch in general. Also, this is a Mario game, so you probably don't need me to tell you this, but this game runs rock solid. I haven't had a single frame drop in game. It plays absolutely perfect. I have had a few frame drops while in the world map, but that's not really worth caring too much about. You know, another great feature this game has? The character selection is amazing now. The previously mentioned new Super Mario Bros. Games had you playing as Mario, Luigi, Yellow Toad, and Blue Toad, and I guess Nabbit and Toadette are in the Switch version of new Super Mario Bros. U if you want to count them. This roster is completely serviceable, it does the job, but it's not really that impressive. Also, in some of the games, you don't even get to choose any character other than Mario if you're player 1, but thankfully in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, we get a way better character roster. This game's character roster includes Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, Yellow Toad, Blue Toad, Toadette, 4 different Yoshis, and Nabbit. If you play as Nabbit, you won't take any damage from enemies, but you won't be able to use power-ups either, and the same goes for the Yoshis. Aside from them, the rest of the characters play the exact same, so pick your favorite. Now, I guess if you really get down to it, this character roster is a little inflated due to there being, I don't know, 4 different Yoshis, but I think the reason 4 Yoshis were added was to allow a group of 4 people to all play as Yoshis if they wish to. There is one character that I wish made it in, and that's Rosalina. Either way, I think this character roster is great, and it's a trend in the right direction for future Mario platformers. Another great thing this game added is of course the new power-ups. This game adds 3 new power-ups to the table. Let's start off with the most obvious addition, the elephant. We've all seen this power-up in the trailer, but I'm gonna be honest, when I played the game for the first time, I had no idea what this power-up was for. It turns out this power-up goes for a more well-rounded approach. There's not anything that it does exceptionally well, but it has multiple improvements. For example, you can break blocks way quicker, as well as defeating certain enemies quicker. You can also use your trunk to attack or spray water, which is more useful than it sounds. I wasn't so sure about this power-up at first, but now I never pass up on it. That is, unless I have the bubble flower. This ability doesn't exactly sound dangerous, but dare I say this power-up rivals the fire flower. For starters, it can kill enemies like dry bones while the fire flower can't. The bubbles you spawn can also be jumped on in order to reach higher places. The bubbles themselves are pretty slow, but they do have a homing effect on enemies. Overall, I love this power up. And finally, we get to the drill. It's been a while since I can confidently say that I like every single new power up. The drill is a little bit more situational than the elephant and the bubble, but when it is useful, it's really useful. The drill allows you to burrow in either the ground or the ceiling, and this allows you to pretty much avoid everything. This ability can be used to help with speedrunning as well as find secrets. Overall, I love all 3 of the new power-ups in this game, and it feels great to finally be able to say that. Also, the drill power-up can also be used to headbutt enemies from below. Probably should mention that as well. And of course, it wouldn't be a platformer without the most important part, the levels. And so it's only fitting that this game has absolutely incredible level design. I saw a review that someone gave this game on Metacritic that said the game was good, but too repetitive. To that I say, an 8 out of 10 is a fair review, but his criticism doesn't make sense. Did this guy just forget to collect the Wonder Flowers? Because these things make this game not just original, but quite literally the least repetitive platformer we've ever gotten. So the Wonder Flowers aren't really a power-up per se, but there's one in each level, and once you touch it, it either changes you or changes the stage. This allows for some crazy level design. You could turn into a Goomba, get launched into space, get nuked by Bowser. There are so many possibilities with this thing. And and it adds to every level being original. If this is what it means to be repetitive, what does a game need to do in order to not be? I've been playing platformers for 15 years now, and I've never played a platformer with a better level design than Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Another really important thing in platformers are of course the controls, since each input matters. The new Super Mario Bros. Games, for all their faults, controlled perfect, and I'm happy to say the same goes for Super Mario Bros. Wonder. But specifically, I want to talk about the multiplayer for a while, because it's not like there's much else to say about the controls other than they're pretty much perfect. The multiplayer in this game is actually very different compared to the new Super Mario Bros. Games because of one feature. In the previous games, multiplayer was a chaotic mess. In a good way. Players would constantly be jumping on each other, throwing people off the edge, and throwing shells at each other. But in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, you can't make contact with another player, which means this game's multiplayer is a whole lot less chaotic. For some people, this is a good thing. For others, they miss how ridiculous the multiplayer used to be. Personally, I love that there's no contact in this game, because that still gives us a reason to go back and play the other games when we want that chaotic experience. In that way, we have a choice. Do you want the more ideal multiplayer experience in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, or do you want your friends to all hate each other? We've been talking about a lot of things that are associated with platformers, I mean, obviously, but one thing this game has that most 2D platformers don't is a sense of freedom. For a platforming game, Mario Wonder gives you a lot of choices. Of course, you do need to collect Wonder Seeds in order to progress, but how you find them and which levels you find them in is pretty much entirely up to you at the end of the day. Sense of freedom is already a vague concept to begin with, so we won't spend too much time on it, but it should be noted this game is a lot more free than most platformers, which is nice. One of my personal favorite things about this game has to be the music levels. There's a few instances in this game where collecting the Wonder Flower changes the level into a music theme stage, and they're just really cute and funny in my opinion. They remind me a lot of the music stages in Sackboy, although I think this game does them way better than that game did. In Sackboy, it feels like the game is trying too hard to be cool, but in this game, the music stages are just as cool as the game itself. There's also these very short challenge levels where you hear music from previous Mario games, and get to see how the notes align on the staff. There are a lot of music references in this game. It feels like it could have been the main theme of the game. Even the final boss is music themed, but we'll get to that later. Oh, and I almost forgot, there's these two really difficult platforming levels that are also music based, and they might be my favorite levels in the game. One of them is even in the special world, so you know it's difficult. This next feature is actually more like a removal of a pre-existing feature. I'm talking about the time limit. Ever since the original Super Mario Bros., there's been a time limit in the top right corner of the screen in pretty much every 2D Mario game ever, and I'm happy to say that it's finally gone. If you couldn't tell already, I'm not a fan of the time limit. It was fine for the original game and maybe some of the other older Mario titles, but for the new Super Mario Bros. Series, what was the point of this? It's just that you're given so much time to the point where the time limit doesn't even need to exist, but at the same time, it feels like it's just there to be in the back of your mind. The only recent Mario game that I thought used the time limit correctly was New Super Luigi U. Platformers do not need time limits to be great. The Donkey Kong Country games prove that, and I'm just so happy to see it finally removed in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. For most Mario games, the time limit never even came into effect, so why did it even exist at that point? And yes, there are certain levels that can have a speedrunning challenge, but there's other ways to implement that correctly. Having an annoying time limit in every single level is not my favorite video game feature out there. This next feature is something we haven't really seen before in a 2D Mario game. This game features abilities called badges. These badges can be equipped in order to do things like jump higher, run faster, detect secrets, and so much more. There's a total of 24 badges in the game, but you can only use one at a time. These badges allow for the level design to be even more creative. My personal favorite badge so far is this badge that lets you do a propelling spin technique just like in Super Mario Galaxy. I still haven't unlocked every badge, but they're a nice addition to the game. I'm sure it's not a perfect system or anything. There's bound to be a few badges that are just mid at best, but like I said earlier, it makes the experience more unique and memorable. And finally, it's time to talk about Super Mario Bros. Wonder's final boss. It would be a good idea to skip this segment if you're sensitive to spoilers. This is a really great boss fight, so if you haven't fought it yet, I recommend going in blind. And with that said, let's begin. This is a Mario game after all, so naturally, the final boss is some form of Bowser. To be honest, I'm not even sure what to call this boss, so we'll just call him Castle Bowser. Like I said earlier, this final boss is heavily music based. In order to defeat this boss, you need to pay attention to the beat of the music and the platforms below you. Jump at the perfect time to launch yourself into Bowser's chin. I guess. I need to start by saying that this boss fight isn't perfect. The biggest issue is, it's brain dead easy. I literally beat it on my first try without getting hit a single time. Now this is a Mario game after all, it's not like we're playing this game for difficulty. Although this game does have some decent challenge most of the time, I still think this fight is a little too easy. But that doesn't stop it from being an insanely original and satisfying boss fight. It's kinda unfortunate that pretty much the only other boss in the game is a bunch of different Bowser Jr. boss fights. But overall, this final boss was a great way to end the game. If you know anything about Mario games, you know that the final boss isn't necessarily the end of the game. Sure, the credits start rolling afterwards, but let's be honest, we all know where this is going. Pretty much every Mario game has a special world which can be accessed after completing the main game, and Mario Wonder's special world does not disappoint. There are some excellent levels in here. There's also 2 levels in particular that are insanely difficult, one of them taking me over 45 minutes to beat. I won't spoil anything else about the special world, just know you're gonna have a great time with it no matter what. And now that we've covered pretty much everything I love about Super Mario Bros. Wonder, let's see what some other creators have to say about the game. I've instructed them to pick one thing they love about this game in particular. Let's see what they went with, starting with Mission Slayer.
Hey, how's it going? I'm the Mission Slayer, and my favorite aspect of Super Mario Wonder is the badge challenges. These challenges allow players to gain new badges and test their skills with the ones that they already have. Each badge adds new movement options, which also gives each level some replayability and lets players have a distinct play style. Every level in the game has a star rank to signify its difficulty. When it comes to badge challenges, the easiest ones act as a tutorial for its respective badge, and the more difficult ones require a decent understanding of how to use the badge effectively. Through these challenges, players will learn what badges work for them and their playstyle. When entering a new location of the map, consider trying the badge challenge first, because that specific badge usually pairs well with the other levels within that location. Not to mention that upon completion, a Wonder Seed is rewarded to the player, which is needed to unlock specific levels, so it helps with progression in that regard. All in all, the badge challenges are a core part of Super Mario Wonder, and a welcome change to how 2D Mario games are played.
Hey everyone, I'm Landorantom, and my friend Wyvern invited me here to talk about one specific thing I like about Mario Wonder, which if you haven't noticed already is kind of difficult to do. I mean, there's a lot of things I could talk about. The art style, the animations, level design, the fact that the game is probably better than almost every other 2D Mario. But with that being said, I think the thing I want to talk about the most is the Wonder Flowers. Look, I'm sure Wyvern has probably already talked about this, but this is like my 2 minutes to talk about it, so yeah. Obviously the music and level design and the animations are a big step up from all the other 2D Mario games and make the game feel a lot more unique. But I think the thing that stands out of all of those things is the Wonder Flower. You'll be playing a level in a certain way, and as soon as you hit the Wonder Flower, it changes like everything. And I think this is actually genius because it prevents all the levels from becoming stale. I mean, I seriously do not think I've became bored on one single level in this game. Granted, I haven't beat it yet. But the point is, every single time you get this weird looking flower, it's always going to be something you most definitely will enjoy. Sometimes it's really difficult, sometimes it's really easy but also really goofy at the same time. There is a handful of times where you activate it and then it just ends immediately and you're just like, what? But in general, I think this is one of the best things they could have done to make it so unique compared to all the other 2D Marios. So yeah, props to them, and back to Wyvern.
Make sure to check out their channels, link in the description. They did a wonderful job with this segment, so that's pretty much it. While I was working on this video, I did manage to 100% this game, and I have to say, this is definitely the best 2D Mario game of all time, and to be honest, one of the best platformers of all time in general, and that just feels so good to say. 2D Mario is finally on top of the world again. I don't think this game has a chance at winning Game of the Year over Tears of the Kingdom or Baldur's Gate, but it sure would have my vote. There's still a few things I didn't get to talk about, like the talking flowers for example, but I think this is a good spot to end it. One more thing before I let you go. This video is actually the first episode of a brand new series called Everything I Love. The name is pretty self-explanatory, but basically this series will be about all different kinds of video games and the things I love about them. Basically, more videos just like this one will be made in the future. And with that out of the way, I hope to see you again soon.